Hey bro, let's get a glimpse at how kings think. Kings are the hardest workers in the room. And when they're working, they're giving it their all. Every ounce of their focus and grit and determination poured into the task at hand. And then they rest. They conquer nations, and then they throw a gala where they can relax and enjoy the fruits of their labor. And kings don't feel guilty about this, for they know that using this time to restore their mind, body, and spirit will only lead to more conquering tomorrow. They win, and then they rest, allowing themselves to actually recover. And thus, the king's work is always meaningful and fruitful. So now that you've seen a glimpse of the king, ask yourself, are you among them? My name is Logan, and on this channel, I help you understand that you in fact are a king. And as such, it's time to think like a king. And in so doing, you will live like a king. Around here, we spend a lot of time talking about the importance of working hard. And I believe that that is a necessary topic because it is becoming a lost art in our current day. But I imagine that quite a few of us in this family subscribe to a lot of the ideals of hustle culture. And therefore, we need to also understand that hustle culture itself gets a ton of things wrong and has a ton of traps.
Oh no, it's a trap.
And one of the main ones is not making resting a priority, not leaning into the restoration of mind, body, and spirit. But kings, this is one of the most important areas of your life, and especially if you are really good at being on your grind.
It's called a grind, bro.
And look, if you're worried about falling behind, if you make actively resting a part of your life, then I totally understand that. But don't be worried about this. You are actually going to propel yourself further ahead as you focus on this aspect. And why is that? Well, we first must consider what work actually counts. In other words, what kind of work serves to have us see the most progress? And that is deep, focused work. But focus is finite, meaning it is a resource that you will deplete as you tap into it, and then it needs to be replenished. So people fall into this trap all the time, draining their focus tanks and trying to drive around on empty. Well, let me tell you, with that strategy, you are not going to get very far. You need to actively plan these times to rest, and not only so you can get the most out of your working hours, but also so that you can enjoy life. When your mind is always consumed with work, you can't truly live and breathe in any moment that's not work. So what does being active about resting look like? Well, it starts with scheduling a daily cutoff time, a hard stop in your day where the work ends. So you might say, I'm not gonna do anything else once it hits 6:30 p.m. And at that point, you make a plan for how you will finish your remaining tasks the next day, and it's laptops down for the night. And this concept stems from the brilliant mind of Cal Newport. Cal is an MIT grad, renowned computer science professor, and the author of Deep Work. And notably, Cal will speak of this spectacular year where he published over 6 peer-reviewed research papers, taught classes as a professor, and wrote nearly the entirety of his book, Deep Work. And the beauty of this, he did it all while not working past 5:30 p.m. That is an insane amount of output in such a short time, especially if you know anything about what it takes to produce a peer-reviewed research paper. And Cal attributes a large part of his success to his shutdown concept, a practice that mainly works for 2 reasons. One is that, like we've discussed, focus is finite. And so if you're utilizing a shutdown time, you're giving your mind the whole night the proper amount of time that it needs to refuel your focus levels. And the second is more psychological, and it has to do with how our brains are wired. If your mind doesn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, a time where it can relax and not work so dang hard, it will force you to keep energy in reserves. It has no idea how long this slog might go for, and it definitely doesn't want to run out of steam. So guess what? It simply doesn't work as hard. You work more hours and get less done. Now, doesn't that sound horrible? But if your mind understands that, hey, I'm gonna cut this thing off at 6 p.m., it can put all of its power and its might into the tasks at hand, thus allowing you to actually get way more done than you ever would have thought possible.
That's not possible.
So try this cutoff time. It will take a few weeks for your mind to actually start believing you that you're serious about actually letting it recover, but once it does, the results will be there. Now, the next concept that you need to understand to achieve optimal rest is to win the day early. Now, Kings, you already know me, and it looks like I can't even make a video about resting without throwing in some concept about working hard. But this one I truly believe gives us the freedom to rest more properly. So say you're employing the shutdown time, but in your working hours, you're on your phone, you're on Instagram, scrolling social medias, browsing, being distracted, and you really don't get that much done. Well, come time for shutdown, you're gonna feel gross about the idea. You'll know you don't deserve the shutdown. You haven't earned the shutdown. You haven't won the day. So even if you go through with shutting down, the rest of your night won't actually be restful. You'll still have all the work you need to do swirling around in your mind. And you've definitely experienced this before. You know how when you have some big project to complete or an exam coming up and you're just trying to escape it, so you may play a video game or go out with friends or watch TV. But then every once in a while, you just get this crushing wave of stress washing over you, and you remember the looming task, and it just destroys your mood and ruins the night. I myself have been there many times, and while this is a vain escape, it's certainly not a restful one. So we want to avoid this feeling as much as possible, and we will naturally do this by winning our days early. If you know you've made proper preparation for your exam, or made solid progress on a project, then you can actually be free to have fun and become restored.
I'm free. Dang it.
So my quick suggestion here is to have 1 to 2 critical tasks that you must accomplish that day. Knock those out as early as possible, and then call the day a win. And then if you want to fill the rest of the day with shallow work, you can do that. If you want to push ahead on other deep tasks, go for that. But the point is that once you hit shutdown, your mind will be able to completely switch gears into recovery mode. A quick caveat about this one though is that it's unlikely that you will win the day early, or win the day at all even, every single day. So don't stress about it if you don't win here and there. The goal is to win as much as we can and have a positive outlook on it, not to chastise ourselves if we miss the mark every once in a while. But of course, still do your best to win the day early and try to keep track of how many wins you're having so that you can always be improving, and your mind will thank you for it. Now, the last concept surrounding seeking active rest is to schedule times for longer periods of indulgence. Now, there were 2 very important terms I used there. The first is longer. We've been talking a lot about ways to structure our days to get rest on a day-to-day basis because that is important. But we also need longer periods of rest to look forward to and do a massive recharge. The second important term I used was indulgence. And this is important because that word often has a very negative connotation, and I just don't think it should. You need those periods where you can literally do whatever you want, and you should be making an effort to actively schedule those times into your life. If that means you want to play video games for 16 hours straight, go for it. If it's taking a 10-day vacation where you don't work out once and you eat whatever you want, give yourself the freedom to do that, and work to put yourself in a position where you don't have to feel guilty about this at all. Especially if you're by and large sticking to the last point of winning your days early, you'll be in need of rest, and you'll also feel like you deserve it. And you won't need to answer to anyone about it, bro. In fact, you'll be excited to tell people, yeah, tomorrow I'm just literally gonna sit in front of my TV, controller in hand, all day long. And on that note, don't listen to people telling you exactly how you need to take your rest. It's personal to you. I do believe in the benefits of getting out into nature, so maybe consider that, but I also don't believe the garbage that you can just never play a video game or something like that. Get that nonsense out of here. But the point is to not let these longer periods of indulgence slip by the wayside. Think about them, plan them out, prioritize them, put them on your schedule, and then enjoy them completely. Allow yourself to live in that very moment and appreciate what you're doing. These longer bouts of complete indulgence have been some of the most restorative times in my life, and they will be for you too. You'll come back with your flame rekindled, better and stronger than ever. So look, King, start prioritizing yourself. Start making an active effort to take proper rest so that you don't let your working hours be meaningless. Now, bro, if you got anything from the video, drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you in the family. But now it's time for me to serve as your reminder. Always put the work in, and from there, leave it in the hands of the one true King. Stay kingly.